Alright YouTube, how are you doing? I've got an M&P15 Sport here. This is a mass compliant version in two pieces here, but I got my lower receiver already off, and what we're going to do real quick is we're going to change the safety. This is the factory safety here. Single-sided. I am a left-handed shooter, so therefore I want to be able to push it with my left thumb right there, push it down to fire. Very difficult for me to cross over in a hurry and be able to switch that. Tried a couple different options. I've only put about 100 rounds through this so far, but it was one of the very first things when I came back from my first range experience. I says, you know, I got to change this thing. I got to get an Ambidextrous on there. So I picked up this Rock River. This is a Rock River Ambidextrous, two-part, obviously. Selector switch. This is the Star Neural. Great profile. I really like not having the full length on the safety, but just having that little point there, and rather than accidentally pushing too close to the rotation point there and kind of losing your mechanical advantage, instead I'm pushing down on a low star as I'll hit it to fire. So I kind of like that feature. I did have to modify this a little bit, so if you watch the previous video you can see how I modified it, but it's all ready to go. A couple of pieces that I need here. Some of these use a flat screwdriver in order to take the grip off. We're going to have to take that off in order to get the detent and spring out. This particular one here uses a 3/8 inch. You do need a pretty long one, so I actually go down and buy a 3/8 inch extended Allen wrench, and then you'll need a 1/16 a 1/16 Allen wrench to put the set screw in. So just to note before we take it apart here, the lower receiver, there is just a little bit of play on that safety, but let's go ahead and make this switch. So we're going to go inside the handguard here, and I'm going to loosen up. You want to make sure you hold on to this handguard here, because there's a spring underneath, and I'll show you where that is in just a second. And that spring is the detent that makes that safety, keeps it in place, gives it that nice click. So we're going to hold that grip on there as we loosen it. That's going to pull that screw right out, and I'm going to turn it over to the other side so you can see that spring as it comes off. There's that detent spring right under my left thumb right there. Get a light on that. Okay. There's that detent spring there, so just be real cautious. It only protrudes up about 1/4 inch out of your handguard, or grip, I'm sorry, I'm saying handguard. The other thing is you're going to want to catch your actual detent here, and you notice your detent has a pointed end here, which is actually what goes up into the safety, and then it has a flat end, almost looks like a little bullet there. The spring is going to sit against the flat part. The pointed nose there, put against something black there, that pointed nose is what's going to sit up into your safety. So you want to have this hammer to the rear. Don't pull the trigger when you do this. You're going to want to have that hammer to the rear, and this safety will come right out. No problem at all. You can see in the safety there's a notch on the bottom. You're going to have to insert it just like that in the fire position. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to take that out. I'm going to pull these two pieces apart. This is my Rock River. I'm going to put it in from the left side to the right in place of the old one. The little notch right there, you see that notch? That's going to be down, which means it's going to be pointing fire position. I'm sure there's lots of videos how to do this. Once you get in there, we're going to go ahead and set that like that. I'm just going to throw a little bit of grease. Use any type of grease that you want. Just a little bit of grease in the detent. Point going upward. Just going to go right in like that. Sorry to keep it in view at the same time here. And then I'm going to grab my grip here, and I'm going to throw just a little bit more grease on the top of the spring there, just to keep that nice. Safety, and the other thing the grease does is kind of nice, is it keeps that detent in there a little bit. Go ahead and put the grip up there. Make sure you don't kink that spring as you push it up. Just push that spring up. The spring's going to go in there. It's quite a long spring. It goes into the grip ways, but you don't want to kink it, so you want to press it right up there. And you can actually feel that's going to lock in there. A nice positive feel there. Find that there. We're going to hold that grip in place. It's great if you got a third hand to do this. But if you're like me, what are you going to do? Remember, your receiver is just aluminum, so you want to be real careful not to strip that threading out as you start it, and you also don't want to over tighten it. As you notice, this one had an exterior tooth washer on there, which is kind of nice. That's pretty much what holds it in there. I'm going to put a little bit of Loctite on this screw, but obviously before that we're going to go ahead and take the other side, which is the ambidextrous portion here. As I said, I had to modify this to get a nice close fit. There's still just a little bit of left-right movement in there, and just for good measure, I don't think you have to do this if you don't feel like it, but I want to make sure that that's all the way in there. So if you bear with me for a second, I'm just going to go ahead and apply a little bit of pressure rather than bang on it. A couple little pieces of wood there. I just want to make sure that I'm applying pressure not to the star knurl itself, but that I'm applying the pressure right across the points. Getting a good seat in there. And where my detent screw is going to go, I'm pretty sure you can't see that. But where my detent screw is going to go, make sure that I get a good view of my detent. It doesn't look like I was able to squish that down too much more, but I definitely see that my right hand side selector level is pushed right in there against the main body of the left hand side one. So that came together pretty nice. Now what I'm going to do is take my screw. This is going to hold it all together. I'm just going to apply a tiny bit of thread locker, blue Loctite on there. I like the stick stuff. I think it's a little harder to find nowadays, it seems like, but I think it's a little bit easier. And just to make sure that I don't lose this screw in there, I know you can't see this, but I'm going to put it upside down. So if I drop it, it's going to fall on my table and not down into my trigger group, because that would not be fun to go and find. And it's just a 1/16 inch Allen wrench. Got my Loctite on there. And that's it, right there. That is the installation of a Rock River Ambidextrous selector switch. It does come down a little bit with my trigger finger. I'm actually going to replace this grip with a Magpul Myad grip in the next video, because as you can see right now, this grip has such a small backstrap on it that my trigger finger has to come way out in order to get the middle of my first pad on that trigger, which I don't particularly like. But as I put that Myad grip on and back up the backstrap a little bit, I don't feel like that'll interfere with my trigger finger. But I like the fact that if a right-hander goes ahead and shoots with me, they have a right-handed safety as well. But that is it. And then if you want to, on fire, make sure your hammer drops. Make sure you if you're going to test it, that's great, but make sure that you catch that hammer. Again, this is only aluminum, so you got to be careful with your screws. You also want to be careful about letting this hammer drop on your lower receiver when you don't have it all assembled. I don't have a problem with dry firing weapon. That doesn't damage anything at all, but when you get your two halves together, I'll just put that in there for those who aren't used to these. So, safety works, fire works, everybody's happy. It's a Rock River Ambidextrous Star Selector. Looks pretty good on the M&P15 Sport. This is the mass compliant version. 28 bucks. I did have to do a little modification. If you watch the other video, you can check that out. That's how she goes. Right there. If you like this video, if this was helpful to you, please go ahead and click that like button. I'd appreciate that. And stay tuned. Next video, we're going to go ahead and replace this stock grip on the M&P15 Sport with a Magpul Myad grip. Thanks for watching.